Won a championship at the age of 18. Also at the age of 18, found the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Many of us have read that book. Started to take a bunch of the principles from that book and use them with his players, focusing on the mind, the body, the spirit, the heart. Okay? Then as a 19-year-old, becomes a high school basketball coach, and in his first year goes 17-0. Wins the first championship in 30 years at the school. Has 7 years of 25-plus wins, becomes one of the best basketball coaches, high school basketball coaches in Tennessee history. Fast forward to today, okay? He's written 15 books about his methodology. People would ask him all the time, what is it that you do with your players that make them so good? His response was always, we focus on the entire body. We focus on everything instead of just one thing. And that is what he continues to preach today as he travels the world as America's coach. Again, written 15 books, is helping businesses and individuals focus on the whole body. Let's give a big round of applause for Coach Micheal Burt.
I spent over a decade of my life as a championship basketball coach, learning the psychology of inner engineering people to perform at the highest levels, specializing in activating the prey drive, an instinctual ability in each person to find, capture, and kill prey, to go out and see something either optically with the eyes or mentally with the mind, and have the fortitude, the persistence, and the intensity to go get it. Now, over the last 12 to 13 years, all I've been doing is activating this prey drive in individuals and businesses around the world, building high prey drive cultures where people are producing at the highest possible frequencies. You have a prey drive. You have another gear. You can find that gear and do something you've never done before. I'm Coach Micheal Burt, and I'm here to activate your drive. Let's go, bro. Thank you, bro.
Give it up for Coach Burt.
Thank you. Woo, come on. Good morning. Y'all ready to activate that prey drive? Listen, my name's Coach Micheal Burt. There's 3 real things I believe, and I'm going to see if we're in agreement here. I believe, number 1, everybody needs a good coach in their life. How many of you have ever had a great coach in your life? Raise your hand. How many of you remember that coach really did 3 things for you? They had conversations with you that you may or may not want to have, yes or no? They made you do some things you may or may not have wanted to do. But a good coach took you to a place that you didn't even know that you wanted to go to. So for the next 5 minutes, with your permission, I'm going to be your coach. Fair enough? And we're going to go to work on something that if you get this right, this concept of prey drive, if you really understand how to flip the switch, if you really understand how to flip it in you, in others, in your spouse, in your team, in your kids, then you're going to play at an all new level you've never played at in your life. Now, I learned this, as he said, as a high school basketball coach. I grew up in a small town of Tennessee, less than 2,500 people. I was raised by a single mother who had me when she was 16 years old. And I watched that woman scratch and claw for everything that we had. She taught me early on in life, we don't whine, we don't complain, and we don't make excuses. We dress up, we show up, we grow up, and we deliver. That's what she taught me early. So at 15 years old, I'm in this small town, and I'm playing basketball as a little point guard, and I get a phone call from a local junior pro coach, and he said, son, I don't know anything about coaching basketball. Would you help me coach this team? And I said, absolutely. I would love to coach this team. How many of you think you find your voice early in life? You start figuring out this thing that you're supposed to do, and when you start doing it, you have this irresistible belief for motive or action. You have this irresistible passion to do something. So I got dressed up in a suit to go down there and coach junior pro basketball. And I looked like a little Pat Riley coaching junior pro basketball. And people laughed at me, and who is this kid that has all this passion? And I got ejected from a junior pro basketball game, right? 3 technical fouls, and I got thrown out of the gym. Now, 18 years old, I make up my mind I'm going to start selling myself. I go to my local school where I went to elementary school. Think about going back to your elementary school, And I decided I wanted to be the head boys basketball coach at this school. And I showed up on day one. In the summer, the principal came in. And I said, I'm Coach Micheal Burt. I'd like to be the head boys basketball coach of this school. And he gave me objection. How many of y'all get some objection every now and then? Now, objection is just opposition of thought. That's all it is. Two frames are colliding. One of those frames is typically more certain than another one. Well, his objection was what? You're too young. You're only 18 years old. And I saw a sales stat that said most sales happen between 7 and 15 touches, 80% of the time. So I go home. Day two, the principal comes back. Guess who's sitting there? I'm sitting there. I'm like, hey, good to see you. Good morning. I'm Coach Micheal Burt. Remember yesterday you told me I was too young and you couldn't make me the head coach, but I'd like to be the head boys basketball coach of this school. Well, insurance, we can't do it. It'll never work. Day three, guess who's sitting there waiting on the principal to come in? Good morning, Coach Micheal Burt. Remember you told me yesterday you couldn't make me the boys basketball coach, but I figured out a way to do it. Guys, I did this for 14 straight days. And on day 14, guess what he said? Kid, you got the job. Primarily because nobody else wants this job. So now I'm coaching, right? Now I'm coaching. Now I'm going to do a thing. And at 18 years old, I win a state championship, and the principal comes to me at the end of the year, and he said, Coach, he said, you did such a great job coaching this year. We think we would like to pay you. I'm like, oh, this is getting good, right? Like, how much are you going to pay me? He says $199.50 for the year. Now, how many of you believe every day with your current customer is sometimes an interview for your next customer? How many of you believe if you do a great job with the one, there's multiple customers to come in the future because you really get it, right? So I'm coaching that team as if I'm coaching in the NBA. And around 19 years old, I get a referral call. And the referral call is this large high school in Tennessee. He said, we heard about you. We heard you're this young little whippersnapper that can flat out coach. Would you come down to this big high school and be one of my assistant coaches? Now, I ask what any good 19-year-old would ask, which is what? I said, sir, I've only got one question to ask you. How much are you going to pay me to come down and be your assistant coach? After all, I'm already making $199.50. You may not be able to afford me. He laughs and he said, kid, I like your spunk and your personality. We're going to pay you $2,000. I said, $2,000? Man, I will be there tonight, right? Now, did I just 10 times my income, yes or no? I went from $199 to $2,000. Now I'm 19 years old. Now I'm coaching the team. And I read a book that many of you have read called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And in that book, I made up my mind that I was going to teach every player that I coached those 7 habits. I also taught every player the 5 dysfunctions of teams. Every player the principles of good to great. Every player the power of intention. Now imagine a 14-year-old learning these things at 14 years old. And I started to use sport to teach life. And what I came across was this concept. This is the whole person, right? This explains almost everything in the world, because when you understand this one thing, you understand that each person sitting in this audience today is made up of these 4 parts. A body, which represents skills. A mind, which represents knowledge. A heart, which represents passion, drive, energy, enthusiasm, what I refer to as pray drive. And a spirit, which represents faith, confidence, belief in a higher power. When you understand this, I started to say to myself, I'm going to use this model to coach those kids. I'm going to touch the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit. How many of you believe what good is it to have knowledge with no desire? What about skill with no confidence? What about confidence with no skills? That's called arrogance, right? So when you think about it, when I'm coaching any person today, I am looking at the whole person, and I'm going, oh, this dude is lacking skill. This dude is lacking desire. This person is lacking knowledge. This person is lacking confidence. And mamas and daddies would drop their daughters off to me at 14 years old, and they all said the same thing. Coach, my daughter's got a lot of what? What do you think they said? Yeah, somebody said issues. They're right about that. Drama, yes. Attitude, yes. But most of the time they said my daughter's got a lot of potential. And I would look at mom and dad in the eye and I would say a simple question. I said, I got a hard question to ask you. And you're probably not going to like it. But is your daughter watching you reach your potential? And those moms and dads would go, ooh, coach. Like, I didn't know you were going to be coaching me. Is it not hypocritical for me to tell my 7-year-old daughter that she has potential when she's not watching her dad reach his? See, every morning when I send my 7-year-old daughter off to school, I look at her and I say, sweetheart, today we're going to do something big. And she puts her hand back up to me and says, big, Daddy. You see, I'm teaching her and showing her. And not long ago, we were playing tennis, and she's only 7 years old, and she was having a hard time hitting the ball, and we were going back and forth, and she was getting mad, and she was getting upset, and she was going, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it. And I said, look, time out. We went over and we sat down, and I said, sweetheart, I don't ever want to hear you use those words again. I can't. You can say I'm trying. You can say I'm learning. You can say I'm getting better. But I do not want to hear you use the words I can again. And we went back out, and guess what? She missed the ball. Guess what she said? Daddy, I'm trying. Daddy, I'm learning. Daddy, I'm getting better. Now, just 2 nights ago, we were at our house, and my daughter said to me, Daddy, I want you to do a cartwheel. And I looked at her and said, I can't. And my 7-year-old daughter stopped what she was doing, looked at me, and she says, I don't ever want to hear those words come out of your mouth again. Daddy, you can say you're trying, you can say you're learning, but you cannot say I can't. At 7 years old, we're teaching her that. Is that right? That's Pray Drive. Pray Drive is that activation. So when you're thinking about what we're going to talk about today, when I begin coaching the whole person, the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit of each player, and tapping into the deepest part of their nature, we begin to win games. We begin to win championships. And when I say win championships, we begin to win and win and win. That's me on championship night. There was 10,000 people there. There's nothing better in the world than being number one. My school, where I coached it, would go on to win 7 of 9 championships. And we took a place that had never won, and we began to teach them how to win by understanding the whole person. Okay? Because of that, somewhere along the way, people began to ask me, what are you doing with these kids? Like, we come watch them play, and they're so disciplined, and they're so focused, and they're so motivated. Like, what are you doing? I said, well, I don't have time to explain it, so I started writing these books. And I said, I don't have time to explain it, just read the book. How many of you have a book in you that you need to write? Raise your hand. Every hand in this room should be raised. If life is worth living, it is worth writing down. And I began to write these books. And when I wrote these books, companies began to call me. Insurance companies and salespeople all over the world. And they said, Coach, we got a lot of good people. And they got a lot of, what do you think they said? No, issues. Y'all got to pay attention. We can't get them to follow up like they're supposed to. We can't get them to show up with batteries included. We can't get them to follow through. We can't get them to get up when they get knocked down. Coach, will you come in and speak to those people? And I'd go in and speak for an hour on, in essence, how to activate the Pray Drive in the person. And I was speaking at Dell Computers, and I got finished speaking for an hour, and the main guy came to me and said, will you come back, Coach? We really loved it. Will you coach our people? I said, no, sir. I'm not interested. Thank you, but I love these kids. I'm coaching these kids. I'm trying to win championships. I'm not interested. Thank you for buying my book. Thank you for inviting me. Not trying to be rude, but I got to get back to these kids. And he says to me, are you sure our people really loved it? Like, you activated something in them that hasn't been activated in a while. I saw some of their dormant faculties come alive. I saw some of the complacency wake up in them. I saw the young people want to go out there and get it more after you're done. Will you come back? No, sir. Thank you. Thank you for buying my book. I got to get back to these kids. And he reaches in his pocket and he pulls out a check. And he says, okay, if you say so, here's your check for coaching our people for the last hour. And I open up the check, and it was more in an hour than I made in an entire month. It was a multiple. I was working 80 hours a week to make this amount. That's 320 hours a month. Then in 1 hour, I made this much money, more than I did in the 320 hours. Anybody want to know what I said then? I said, surely somebody else can tend to them kids. Like, I love them kids, but there'll be a coach come along after me that loves them too. The truth is, I stayed for 6 more years to build a national championship program, and then I retired. And now I get to travel all over the country on this jet that I bought with good friends, and I get to speak on big stages like this. And that was me at 10X. How many people saw me speak at 10X, by the way? I want to tell you something. The 10X, when I spoke at 10X, it was for you, but it was also for me, because I needed to prove to myself that I was as good as those other guys. Sometimes in life, you got to do things to prove to yourself, to build your confidence, to activate your prey drive, to get on a bigger stage. So when you think of what we're going to talk about today, I'm going to ask you this question. What do you want to become known for? What do you want to become known for? And I didn't think about this really until the last couple of years. I was always a coach. I was always motivating. I was always coaching people. I was always coaching businesses. And then I started saying, what have I been doing for the last 25 years of my life? What I've really been doing is activating something in a person that they did not think that they had. What I really have been doing is activating this drive. We're going to call that prey drive. This is the definition of prey drive, because at the end of the day, you have a drive in you that you probably haven't activated. Prey drive is the instinctive inclination of a carnivore to find, pursue, and capture prey. Does that sound like a good salesperson? The term is chiefly used to describe and analyze dogs. All dogs have a prey drive. I believe humans have a prey drive. For some reason, that drive has not been activated. Now, you may say, you know, I'm a motivated person, and I get up and get after it every day, and that is admirable. But I guarantee you, when my good friend Tim Grover speaks tonight, give it up for Tim Grover. He's one of the best people in the world. I guarantee you that he will tell you there's a huge difference between being motivated and activating this drive. You understand what I'm saying? Because even where I'm operating today is nowhere close to my potential. Now, I'm going to tell you something about my wife. My wife did drugs every single day from 21 years old to 24 years old. She grew up in a small town in West Tennessee. She had no direction. She had no guidance. She had no coach. She had no purpose. She came to the same university that I went to, but I did not know her. She floundered around in life, really from 20 to 30, going nowhere and doing nothing, hanging around all kinds of shady people. Nobody in her group was going anywhere, including her. She was selling cell phones for Verizon Wireless and hated it. She didn't even know there was a bigger future. And her company paid $50 for her to come to one of my workshops on a book I wrote called This Ain't No Practice Life. And she sat over there in the right-hand corner, and she took notes, and she ripped up the book. She said, "Can I meet with you?" 2 weeks later, she came and met with me, and she had that book, and it was highlighted and ripped up, and she's like, "Look, nobody has ever talked to me about any of these things. Nobody's ever told me I had potential. Nobody ever told me I needed to activate this drive. Nobody ever told me that I needed to do this. Nobody ever showed me this. I know there's something bigger in me. I just don't know what to do with it." Now, over the next 9 or 10 years, obviously we would go on to get married. And anytime she's hard on me, I like to remind her, "Sweetheart, for $50, you got a pretty good husband." Like, you didn't pay $5,000, you paid $50. But you know what my wife is now doing? She is now writing her own books. She is now coaching women all over the country. Some of the companies that pay me to come in and coach the company, they are now paying my wife to coach the women. Now, this is the same country girl that did drugs every day from 21 to 24 that had no purpose, no direction, no guidance. What happened to her? This drive was activated in her. How many of you know somebody right now that's got a lot of talent, but the drive has not been activated? Yeah, and it may be you. Or maybe it was activated and it has gone dormant. Now, look at this. While modern dogs are domesticated creatures that can be trained to behave in civil manners, all dogs, let me replace that, all humans have a prey drive. It's that need to go and pursue. How many of you feel miserable when you feel stuck or static or you're not moving or you're not growing? I am a miserable person when I feel like I'm not pursuing something big. When I go on vacation for longer than 3 days, like I get miserable. I'm like the most miserable vacation partner in the world. Because after 3 days, I'm bored. I feel stuck. I feel closed up. I tell my wife, I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I got to go. I got to do something. We are hardwired to go get it. You may have suppressed this. You may have been shy about bringing it out, which is one of the number of reasons. You may be scared that other people won't like you if you pursue hard enough. But most people in the room have suppressed this drive. Now, this is what's really interesting to me. And I just came across this the other day. In many breeds of dog, prey drive is so strong, don't miss this, that the chance to satisfy the drive is its own reward. Now, here's what it's saying. The freedom to pursue the prey is actually the reward for the dog. It's not catching the prey. Everybody see that? Now, in my company, we don't do rewards. We don't do reward trips. We don't do Starbucks gift cards. We don't do trinkets. If you hit a sale, we don't give you anything. Here's what I say. The reward is in the pursuit. The reward is in your self-satisfaction of going home tonight and saying, I did everything I could to win today. That's your reward. You don't need a Starbucks gift card. You don't need a reward trip. What you need is to go home and look at yourself in the mirror and say, I went out today and crushed it. I was fully prepared and I did it. That should be the reward, the ability to pursue. See, a dog that is chained up can't pursue prey. It's chained. It has no freedom to pursue. Now, these are 3 parts of prey drive. And I want you to think about this. Part 1, activation. The switch is awakened. The curiosity is activated for more of something. Okay? Now, if you study every motivational theory in the world, every motivational theory says the same thing. Satisfied needs do not motivate people. Only unsatisfied needs. So what happens to a person, and I see this all the time, especially with guys and girls that start making about $250,000 a year, and they start going, I'm making good money, I got a good life, I like the car I drive, I like the house I live in. What is happening to them is their needs have been met. And it is a suppressor of prey drive. Because once your basic needs are met, it's like, why should I go get it? Why should I push harder? Why should I get up earlier? Why should I go do this? Because I have everything that I need. How many teams do you see that come back and win back-to-back championships? It's very unheard of, which is why when the Patriots do it that many times is really unusual, because most teams get to a point and then they have a little bit of complacency. Somebody else is hungrier. Somebody else is working harder. Somebody else is getting up earlier, right? Because why? We've won a championship. What else do we have to do? See that what happens is the prey drive becomes complacent. Complacency is a gradual settling to a place of mediocrity. Any of you send your kids off to school in the morning, and the very last thing you tell them before they go to school is, listen, sweetheart, here's what I want you to do today. I want you to go gradually settle to a place of mediocrity. Anybody tell their kids that? Of course not. You tell them, go do something big, right? Now, second piece of prey drive is persistence. One of my favorite sayings is have a long obedience in the same direction. See, the people that are really great that you see in the world, they haven't been doing this for 1 day or 1 week or 1 year. They've been doing it for 20 years or 30 years. It looks easy. It ain't easy. I remember going and watching a big-time performer perform, and I used to sit in the back in the cheap seats, and I would say, man, it looks so easy. Get up there and sing, and it must be such a great gig. And then I went one night, and I said, no, I want to sit on the front row. And I sat on the front row, and I watched this guy perform for 4.5 hours, and he was sweating profusely, and I was like, man, that dude works hard. He was so good, he made it look easy. Why? Because he'd been doing it for 20 years. Most people do not have a long obedience in the same direction. We live in a cotton candy world. Cotton candy, it tastes good for a second, but it don't last. I'm looking for people who have staying power. I'm looking for people that have this long obedience in the same direction. Third piece is intensity. Intensity is force, power, veracity. Okay? Now, if you have small goals, what kind of intensity do you have? You got zero intensity. I know when I'm talking to a small-time person. Small-time people get together and talk about other people. Small-time people get together and talk about events. Big-time people get together and talk about ideas. And really big time people get together and talk about execution of an idea. They have an intensity about them. Positive and intense. Now, has this pray drive been activated in you? Has it gone dormant in you? Have you moved into a static position? What do you need to be exposed to for it to be reactivated? That's what we're talking about today. Now, this is a new book I have coming out called Single Digit Millionaire, because the number one question I get asked all over the country is, how did you go from a high school basketball coach making $25,000 a year to where you are today? How did you make this transition from here to here? How did you go from doing this to doing this? How did you go from being successful here to building a multi-million-dollar coaching company here? And so what I said is, when I started codifying this, I started going, this is how I did it. Number one, I spent a decade building a primary skill. A primary skill is a hard skill that solves another problem for other people. Okay? A primary skill is the number one thing you're good at. For some of you, it's connecting immediately. For some of you, it's making a person feel comfortable. For some of you, it's overcoming some objection. For some of you, it's the ability to connect to anybody, anywhere, anytime. For some of you, it's how you explain your services and value. For some of you, it's the enthusiasm and energy you bring to the table. What is your primary hard skill? For me, it was engineering people through the whole person. It was understanding how to activate Pray Drive. Now, once you have this hard skill that most people don't have, by the way, or they don't know what it is, you then spend a decade building demand for that skill. You market that skill. You refine that skill. You use that skill. And then what happens is you wake up one day and you say, man, there's a bunch of people coming to me because I got this skill. What happens then is you start having these networks of people. Now you got all these people around you that you can exchange energy with and build structures of exchange and build deep networks and do business deals with each other and do real estate plays with each other, because now you have these deep networks. So here's what starts to happen. Your business starts to give you excess cash, meaning your primary skill is now bringing cash in for you. You are paying yourself, you're paying your bills, you're paying your taxes, and then you have money left over. And you start taking that money that's left over and you begin reinvesting that money for your long-term wealth. Now, you guys know this. When you make money, what's the first thing you should invest in? You. Do you know how hard it is to get a person to invest in themselves today? Like, we'll send kids to a horse camp, basketball camp, gymnastics. Like, I'll send my daughter to all those things. What are they doing? Growing her skills. But adults will not spend money on growing their skills. Your hard skill is in direct proportion to your income. If you want to make more income in 2020, get better at your hard skill. The stronger your skill is, the more money you're going to make. So refinement of that skill is very, very important. Now, when you think about this, one of the things I'm going to do for every person in this room is I'm going to give you a copy of this book. I'm going to give you the ebook. Is that fair enough? And I'm going to give you 4 hours on video of me breaking this book down. All you have to do is text that number right there. So get that number and text it. Within a minute, you'll have the book, you'll have the 4-hour video, and I will show you how to get your net worth between 1 and 10 million bucks. Okay? If you want to figure out how to get it between 10 million and above, then we'll have to ask Mr. Milet tomorrow when he's here. Fair enough? Now, here's my point. When you think about this concept of primary skill, build demand, build teams of people that are coming to you, take excess cash, reinvest it in something. You say, well, what could I reinvest it in? Okay? We teach a concept called intentional congruence. It's where everything in your life is feeding everything in your life. Now, let's look at the person. If you're a whole person, are you working on the body every day, yes or no? You're doing something for the body every day. Okay? I hired a full-time trainer on my payroll to work me out 7 days a week. Okay? What happened to me? I was 191 2 months ago. I'm at 171 today. 20 pounds in less than a month, because I got to do working me out every single day. That's how committed I am to it. It's not a trainer that I pay $50 to every now and then. I show up sometimes. I said, I'm committed to this. I'm going to put you on my payroll. And if I want to work out at 10:30 at night, we're going to work out at 10:30 at night. If I want to work out at 4 o'clock in the morning, we're going to work out at 4 o'clock. If I want to work out 3 times a day, we're going to work out 3 times a day. If you're building the whole person, you got to go to work on the body, the mind, the heart, and the spirit. All 4 parts have to be clicking on every cylinder. And when it's clicking on every cylinder, the prey drive is activated, and you want more, because how many of you believe when you start having that success, you want more success? See, working a muscle, the more you work a muscle, the more the muscle wants to be worked. The more it becomes a habit, the more it becomes what we call in sports muscle memory. You don't have to think about it, man. That's one thing I love about Tim Grover. Thinking in a game is a liability. When you have to stop and think, it's costing you time, and time is a precious thing. So here's what we do in our life, and I hope this inspires you, because remember, I'm just that kid from a small town in Tennessee, raised by a single mama. You know, the living room and the bedroom and the kitchen in our house was all the same room growing up. That mama who was so tough, 3 weeks ago totaled her car on the way to work. My mother did. She got out of the car and went back to work. I didn't even know she totaled her car. I had to see it on Facebook. And I called my mom, and I'm like, Mom, did you total your car? She said, yeah. I'm like, you need anything? She said, no, I'm at work. Don't bother me. That's how tough she was. So when I show you what I'm about to show you, I'm showing you this to let you know that this can activate your drive in what you intentionally can grow it. Now, this is what we do with our excess cash. What we do is we take money from the coaching business, and we intentionally go buy properties around the country to where we can add more cash, meaning we do coaching retreats at these properties. We rent these properties. We cash flow these properties. This is a big lodge that we purchased in Tennessee. I suspect that this lodge will bring in between $250,000 and $500,000 in passive income to me, and we use it. We use it, right? So here's an example of us using it for coaching. So we buy the lodge. Where did the money from the lodge come from, by the way? From my business. Where's your excess cash going to come from? Knocking on doors, making money, right? It's going to come when you make enough sales, because your skill is so strong that people are saying yes to you versus no to you. You're going to start building a little excess cash over here. You're going to take that cash and say, man, I'd like to build in my long-term wealth. I'd like to start doing something like this. So what we do is we bought these properties. There's our house in Florida that we purchased. And it is a 9-bedroom house, and we do coaching retreats there. You say, well, why is that important? When you get around big-time people in environments like this, guess what it does? It activates your prey drive. Yes or no? So what's the first thing we got to do? We got to get our income up. And the way we get our income up is by getting better at our primary skill. Once we get better at our primary skill, there's a bunch of people who want it. Once they want it, you're going to have a bunch of money. You're going to take that money, and you're going to start building it into something. Okay? Then you start getting everybody involved. Okay? I even got my wife writing books. She wrote a book called Living with a Monster. Do you know that she didn't want to write that book? See, you can activate the prey drive in your spouse too. I was at 10X. I just spoke. We were incredibly excited. It was a big moment in my life, and we're sitting at the table having dinner. And I go on Facebook, and I said, I want to congratulate my wife on writing her first book called Living with a Monster. And my wife is getting all these congratulations. I'm so happy for you. Way to go. I'm proud of you. And she looks at her phone, and she's like, did you just volunteer me to write a book? I'm like, absolutely. And she said, I don't know anything about writing a book. I've never written a book. I'm not a coach like you. And you know what I said? You can do it because you can do it. And I said, matter of fact, your desire to help people has got to become greater than your desire to be comfortable. I see talent and potential in you. It is time to activate that potential. And she wrote that book. Now she's coaching women on how to live with an obsessed person. Now she's doing women's conferences. You know, when she got that book in her hands, when it first came in, you know what she did? She said, I am so glad that I wrote this book. I am so proud. She said, you know what? It wasn't even that hard. I know. That's what I told you. Intentional congruence is where everything is feeding everything. Does everybody understand that? Your whole life is feeding your whole life. It is the activation of the prey drive. Now, people ask me, how do you attack a day? Because I believe in playing offense versus defense. As a basketball coach, I had a rule. We wanted to get the ball to the midline in less than 2.3 seconds. That means we practiced how hard and how fast we got the ball out, and we pushed it. And we pushed it right down your throat, every single possession. And in the second half, the other team would do this. And I knew when they put their hands on their knees that it was over. And I would teach my players, when they put their hands on their knees, that's when you go for the kill, because it's over. That's pray drive. That's the activation piece. Now, here's how I attack a day. When I come into every single day, I come into it with a formula. Every single day I come into it with a formula. Every day I got a hit list of new money I'm calling on. Say new money with me. Say it again, new money. Every day we got to focus on new money. Every day we got to focus on new money. I can't tell you how many people I coach that get distracted by something and don't focus on new money every day. The purpose of your business is to create new money. That is the whole purpose of the business. The purpose of the business is to build excess cash for you that you can then reinvest, intentionally congruent in something for your future. That is the whole reason you're in business. Too many people get distracted in low value activity. They get distracted. Okay? I asked Tim once, do big time players ever lose their confidence? He said they never lost their confidence, but they did lose their focus. Big time people don't lose their confidence, they lose their focus. They get distracted by something silly. They get distracted by some drama. They get distracted because the last person didn't sign up. They get distracted by something in the past that's finite. You can't get distracted off this. The purpose of your business is to produce new money. Every day I got a hit list, and every day I got a farm club. Farm club are people I'm trying to close that have indicated interest. Every day I'm onboarding new customers because there's a flow, there's an energy. Every day I'm trying to get 5.7 referrals out of every customer I've got. Every day I'm trying to get 5.7 referrals out of every customer. And every day I'm trying to drive up my person of interest score by partnering with big time people, by moving about the planet. Now, this is a daily attack. If you do this every day, guess what's going to happen? You're going to make more sales. You're going to make more money. How many of you believe that selling is a game of probability? It's a game of probability. Every statistic in the world tells me that when I present an idea to a person, 16% of people will be open and interested in that idea. That's what's called early adopters and innovators. 16% of people that I present an idea to will say, I'm open to it. There will be 34% of people, they're called early majority. They may need to see it 3 to 7 times. There will be another 34% of people, that's called late majority. They will need to see it 7 to 15 times. And then there will be 16% of the people that see the ideas you present, and they ain't never gonna buy them. You can move in with these people and it ain't happening. Now, what's the point? Out of this room right here, here's what the numbers consistently tell me. 16% of you will be interested in me being your coach. 16%. Then there'll be 34% that'll watch me on YouTube, 34% that'll listen to my podcast, 34% that'll kind of track me for a while, and maybe 2 years from today, you'll go, I want that little bald-headed dude to coach me. I want to activate my pray drive. I need somebody who knows how to get me to a higher frequency. Now, and then there'll be 16% of you that will never do anything. Okay? And that's okay. You got to decide which one you're going to be in. You're going to be in that top 16%, or you're going to be in the 34% that gets it, but it takes a while, or you're going to be in the second 34% that you got to see it 15 times, or are you going to be in the 16% that comes, gets entertained, goes home and does nothing with it? So let's finish with this concept. I'm going to push through a few of these. These are activators of pray drive. These are not exclusive. These are not the only activators of pray drive. But if I was trying to activate your pray drive, I would most likely use one of these 5 things. How many of you are motivated or your pray drive is activated when you're in competition with something? Raise your hand. Look, okay? So once I know that, now I know how to motivate you. Okay? Because competition is a strong motivator. Competition brings the best out of people and it brings the worst out of people. Okay? Because of the way I was raised, scarcity, single mom, we're competing versus everybody. Everybody is a threat. Everybody we don't know who's on our team and who's not on our team. So what are we going to do? We're going to show up and fight every day. I'm a competitor. I want to win. But what if I told you number 2 is actually a stronger motivator for me than number 1? I am actually more motivated because of fear of loss, meaning how many of you have built a good life and you don't want to lose it? Yeah. How many of you wake up in the morning grateful and thankful and appreciative? And you go, man, I've spent my lifetime building this. This is a motivator for me. I don't want to lose what we built. I don't want to lose. I believe what takes years to build up can take seconds to tear down. Here's my rules. I go to bed tired and I wake up hungry. At midnight, it all goes to 0. And number 3, there comes a time when winter asks what you've been doing all spring and summer. And winter's always coming. Everybody see that? So how many of you think big-time people wake up scared? Raise your hand if you think big-time people wake up scared. Yeah. If you see, most people don't think that. Every person I'm coaching that is earning over $1 million personally wakes up in the morning scared to death. Because they know what takes years to build up can take seconds to tear down. Do you know that the wealthiest people I coach work as if they're broke? And the brokest people I coach work as if they're wealthy. Now that's odd, isn't it? Here's my point. I'm like, that dude works so hard. He gets up every day. He shows up every day. He's making $1 million a year, and he shows up every day. We can't get that dude to ever show up. You understand what I'm saying? So number 2 is actually my number 1 motivator of my pray drive. I don't want to lose what I built. Number 3, inspired by others. You're inspired by other people. When you get around other people, when you go to conferences, when you hear big-time people speak, when you see big-time people doing something. How many of you it cranks that engine? Okay? Listen, if you're not listening to podcasts, if you're not watching videos on YouTube, if you're not training every day, military trains every day, world-class athletes train every day, big-time people train every day. Amateurs listen to their feelings. Professionals do not listen to their feelings. I remember seeing Lady Gaga perform once, and she was sick. And she's singing and singing and dancing and dancing. She turns around right in the middle of the concert while she's singing and throws up all over the stage. She turns back around, starts singing again. You know what I said? Now that is sexy right there. That's what I'm talking about. That's a woman right there. I like that. Because that told me how tough she was. Amateurs listen to their feelings. Professionals do not listen to their feelings. It don't matter how I feel today. I got to give you my best effort. You got to get to the point where you are feeding this inspiration to you. Environment is a big motivator of Pray Drive. How many of you have ever been in a low Pray Drive environment before? Yeah, when I first started teaching, they stuck me right beside a teacher who had been teaching for 37 years and hated kids. Every day that woman go, why are you doing this? And why are you doing that? And why are you working so hard? Over a period of time, chipped away at me. And I began to go, you know what? Why am I working this hard? Nobody else around here works this hard. If you got a team of people or you're building a team, the number 1 thing you can do is build a high Pray Drive environment. Okay, I don't have time to show you how to do that, but we do that for some of the top people in the world. And number 5 is exposure. How many of you have been going along in life and you got some new information? And when you got new information, it opened you up to a whole new world. Maya Angelou said, when we know better, we do better. But if we don't know better, we can't do better. When you see something bigger, when you have a conversation with a person that opens your eyes, when you experience something, when you get to see something moving, it activates your Pray Drive. One of the number 1 things that activates my Pray Drive is this new jet that I've got. Now, I need this thing because we got a 7-year-old daughter and I travel all over the country. And one of the number 1 ways that I activate this is the inside of the plane. One of the number 1 ways we activate the drive of people is we put people on that plane with me. Do you know what happens to one of my customers when they go on the plane with me? They come home different. When you're going 500 miles an hour, 30,000 feet, and you're talking business and ideas, there is no way you can't think bigger when you come home. Does that make sense? If we want to sign a big customer, I say, this is easy. Just let them go with me on the plane. Once they go with me on the plane one time, guess what? They're like, I'm ready to sign up, coach. Now, I'm telling you this not to brag. I'm telling you this to inspire you because my buddy Ed Milet, you see my plane, right? My little starter jet, and this is the plane Ed, my left's looking at. Now, so I sent a picture to Ed, and I'm like, Ed, I got a little starter jet, right? Like, see my little starter jet? Like, this is the one he's shopping for. Now, do you know, and I'm going to close on this, do you know the lesson I learned by buying that plane? When you get out on the runway on your jet, you begin to see these other jets. And it begins to open your mind to oh, look at that one. Oh, look at that one. Oh, look at that one. It begins to activate a drive in you that you never see until you're on the runway. Until you are on your own runway, in your own plane, looking at planes like that, you don't even think about it. Exposure activates the drive. Now, I'm going to be out here for the next little bit. I want to talk to you. I want to shake your hand. I want to sign a book. And I'm going to add a sweetener to this deal as I close today. I'm going to be personally mentoring 25 people on this concept of single-digit millionaire through the book. I'm taking 25 people I personally mentor. This is something that's free. I'm not charging for it, but I want to continue to pass it forward. So to qualify for me to be your coach and mentor you over an 8-week cycle through the book, Single Digit Millionaire, you need to text this code and you need to come see me out here. Okay? Text the code and come see me. And that qualifies you to go into the pot. And I'm going to pick 25 people that I'm going to personally mentor. One of the biggest regrets of my life, from 20 to 30, I didn't have a great business coach. I didn't have a person pouring into my life. I was studying business. I had great coaches teaching me how to be better basketball coaches, but I didn't have one person teaching me the difference between an asset and a liability, how to use your primary skill to get your income up, how to reinvest in intentional congruence. And it literally is one of the greatest regrets of my life. I don't want you to make that mistake. I believe everybody needs a coach in life. I believe you guys are on the verge of doing something incredible in your life, and I want to speak nothing but increase into your life in 2020. God bless you guys. Thanks for having me. D2D, come on. I love you. I love you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.